Hello, my loves. Hello, hello, hello. My name is Dustina. This is Spiritually Boujee Astrology, and we are going to take a look at the astrological transits of December 9th to December 15th. Now, before we do any type of recap or look ahead, just a quick little reminder that all of my readings are on special for everybody until the end of the year. Everybody is getting new client pricing. What does that mean? If you are a new client coming to me for the first time, we can go anything that we need to in regards to your natal chart. We can go over your business. We can go over your finances. We can go over your health. We can go over the relationship. We can go over your karma. We can go over your family dynamics, whatever we need to look at. And for your very first session, I do not charge my full rate. Because I'm running this special for everybody, that means everybody is getting new client pricing until the end of the year. An hour-long session with me is $35. A 90-minute session with me is $50. Email me, DM me, whatever's going to be working best for you. All my contact information is listed in the description of every single episode, and I'll be happy to meet with you guys one-on-one. Now, going into the vibration of this week, not everybody is aware of what they're about to get into and what they're about to step into based off of all the major transits that just occurred, because there was a lot last week. We had the second square with Mercury and Saturn. We had the sun square to Saturn. We had the second opposition to Mercury and Jupiter. We had the sun's opposition to Jupiter. Mars turned retrograde, and all in the midst of this, we had a Venus-Pluto conjunction, and Neptune turned direct. Now, depending on where these different various transits happened in your chart, for some people, this week was super intense, especially my mutable placements. Sag rising, Gemini rising, Virgo rising, Pisces rising. I know you had a difficult week. Fixed signs, it was kind of interesting. It was right in there, but it wasn't necessarily detrimental as of yet. And I say detrimental loosely, very loosely whenever I say that part. But we did have very much an awareness of certain things that we're setting through, but not necessarily an immediate reaction to the turn, to the transformation, to whatever it is that Mars turning retrograde has instigated. Now, for those that listen to my Meditative Rant video about the Mars retrograde, I did miss a few things, so I might actually do a part 2 on that, just to kind of like add a few things in that I meant to put in, but I kind of spaced out because in part of that episode, I'll be honest, intuition took over. Sometimes you guys can see that on my face. Sometimes you can't. And if you're listening to this on the audio only version, you definitely could not see my face. But I can't hide anything with my face. I do not have a poker face. Everybody knows that. But there was something in that vibration with Mars turning retrograde that now on another side, on another level, is going to unveil for some, but fuel for others. And some people will not even be aware of what they are fueling until we get into parts of this week. And for some of us, it literally starts with the very first transit that I'll show you whenever we get into Monday. But there's a part of this week that every time I was meditating on getting into this week up until this morning, I'm blocked. I'm like, okay, I'm waiting for either something to happen in the universe, someone to do something, or I'm waiting for the next energetic click. Well, Rubik's Cube stuff happened and the click happened. Now that Neptune is direct, all of this week, Neptune, newly direct, will be going through a CONTRA-ANTISCIA to the North Node. There is one of two aspects that I'm kind of picking up on with this. It's either now that somebody else has shown their other side, Mars turning retrograde, and I'm saying it this way because Mars is hosting the North Node. The North Node is in Aries. Aries is ruled by Mars. Therefore, Mars is hosting that North Node. Mars is hosting the head of the dragon. Either based off of the turn, the action, the reaction, the disruption, the volatility, the turn in Mars is going to be something that fuels a fire, fuels a desire, fuels and empowers a certain passion that some are going to be almost blinded by that light, blinded by desire, blinded by hope, maybe, possibly, depends on the situation, blinded by possibilities, but very much blinded. Now, why do I say that? For those that have never heard of a contra-ANTISCIA is known as a hidden, behind the scenes, hidden conjunction. Now, come springtime, closer to the end of the Mars retrograde, we will have an actual conjunction of the North Node and Neptune. By the time we get to that April timeframe that I keep saying looks so wonderful, by that time, Neptune will actually be in Aries, where the North Node is right now. So there's something about Neptune's vibration, especially now that Neptune is direct, that is a big part of this Mars retrograde. That is a big part of fueling the fire, the desire, the dreams, the passion. However, not everybody is fueled by fire and desire. Let's be clear about that. We got to play the devil's advocate, and Neptune is not always fun and games. Y'all have heard me say this before. He's kind of a dick. And I'm a Pisces moon. My credentials are good when it comes to this idea. Now, when I was meditating on a newly direct Neptune this morning, hitting that contra-ANTISCIA to the North Node, it kind of reminded me of the Marvel movies Age of Ultron. I'm pretty sure it's Age of Ultron that she does this. When the Scarlet Witch is Scarlet Witching, and she would do her little finger flip of different spells and different magic and different air, and she would whisper her incantation, but her incantation was more like, this is now your passion. This is now what you believe. This is now what you understand. This is now what's fueling you. Many of us are going to see certain people that are suddenly fueled by a hope, by a dream, by a belief. But that's pretending that Neptune, again, is not being a dick. But on the other side of that, sometimes Neptune is. So that means the other half of that is some people are going to be fueled by a lie, by a fraud, by a deception. Some will realize that previous situations were a lie, a fraud, and a deception. And now the fueling is going to be reacting to knowing a truth. Because now that Neptune is direct, and the funny thing about Neptune turning direct was that coincided with the Sun-Jupiter opposition and the Venus-Pluto conjunction. For some people, they saw a different truth, a different light, a different potential, a different reality than what they previously understood. Now, the Sun's opposition to Jupiter, it is faith, it is hope, it is abundance. There is a hope within us. And that was exact on Saturday when Neptune was turning direct. But the other thing we had to Saturday was that Venus-Pluto. For some people, a prior event, specifically something from February, and we're going to have another imprint this week that speaks back to February also, just to be clear. A prior event, a prior situation, a prior notion that goes all the way back to February. For a lot of people, it's going to be going back to February based off of recent transits. Now, if you have other things that are going on that are go back even further, that does not surprise me. I'm going off of the pattern of the most recent events and transits that I have been in tune with you guys during. Okay. Okay. Going back to something from February, but seeing a new light, a new truth, a new reality with the Sun's opposition to Jupiter. And Venus-Pluto had a awareness of something that can be triggering, that can invoke fear. This is what I meant to say. Frustration. There was a trigger in the Venus-Pluto, a trigger that we needed to transform something for the better for some, a trigger of knowing that some other side is not quite who or what we thought it was. And for some people, if that is in fact the case, the initial emotional reaction that would have came through while the moon was going through Pisces is going to stir into an action or a reaction as we go through this week. All of last week was putting certain triggers and things into motion to allow for something or someone to have a turn in their presence, a turn in their identity, a turn in their desire, a turn in their actions. There was meant to be some kind of turn based off of the energy. But the awareness and the result of that turn has not immediately been seen by everyone. Some, if you're super close to the situation, you felt the flames of Mars, you know what the turn is. For other people, you don't know it yet, and you're not going to know it until we get through parts of this week. Now, for those that have their natal Mars in retrograde, if you have someone in your life that has their natal Mars in retrograde, this timeline is a fast track of energy for them. So for some of these people, the turn is necessary because, again, 65 to 85 days, this one's going to be closer to the 85 range. We're going to go all the way until, February 23rd. That's a very short window to fast track some area of their life. And again, if they have their natal Mars in retrograde, put an asterisk next to that because sometimes people have a stationing Mars and they can still have the Mars pattern in their life, just to be clear. If Mars is your time lord, that's a different conversation. That's usually something that I would talk to you one-on-one in your sessions about, if Mars is your time lord, or if Mars is your chart ruler. So Scorpio risings and Aries risings. These people are meant to have a fast track in energy. But not everybody is in this boat. And some people are going to see the booms and the takeoffs, the energy, the desire, the reactions, and the actions, and it's going to be dumbfounding what just happened to you. And there will be some people that have to just sit back and be the support. But that is going off of the idea of the positive side. For some people, it will not be positive. The actions and the reactions that will come through this week will actually be quite frustrating. It will be quite triggering. And again, there are parts of this week that can go all the way back to February. We had a Venus-Pluto conjunction on February 16th. But just a few days later, specifically on, I have it written down, February 22nd, we had a Venus-Mars conjunction also in Aquarius, roughly between the degrees of 5, 6, and 7 degrees. Well, later this week, we're going to have a Venus-Mars opposition. And it's going to happen at the same degrees where their conjunction was earlier this year. Now, for some people, that Venus-Mars conjunction, we were adamantly supported of something. We are pushing for a desire. We were taking some type of action. But that was Venus and Mars together. Venus was very traumatized and very frustrated during that time because she was stuck in between Pluto and Mars. Not a great place for her. And until that conjunction happened and she surpassed Mars, there was a lot of energy that spoke to triggers and trauma and feeling stuck in a multitude of ways back in the springtime that we no longer feel stuck in going into this week. And now that Mars is retrograde and will hit again that opposition to Venus in an area of the sky where Venus was once in a conjunction with Mars just earlier this year, the same time frame as that last Venus-Pluto conjunction, We are now in an energy where we feel more confident in taking back our power, more confident in pushing through the fear and overcoming certain things. And some people will see, again, the transformation of Mars as the fast track potential that it will be. Others will be adamantly against the change, the shift, and there will be tensions, there will be frustrations, and there will be things that get said that clearly denote some level of an ending sometime between this week and next week. Why do I say that? There's a lot of energy to this week. And the way we end this week on Sunday is the full moon in Gemini, which is Mercury's sign. That full moon will be squaring Neptune, who's already having its scarlet, witchy, floody effect of really encapsulating our desires and our mind all throughout the week. And I'll cover that just a bit more in the closing, by the way. So we have the full moon squaring that Neptune, and simultaneously, Mercury, in its detriment in Sagittarius, will be turning direct following that full moon, following the completion energy, following that change of a mindset, that change of opinion, cementing that change of mindset, that change of opinion, that change in the communication, that change and shift in power. And there again will be a vibration that speaks to splits. And I'll explain that more as I have the chart to do that. We're in a continuous flow of vibration from previous events. For some people, again, there was so much to last week that we still haven't truly wrapped our head around it, or we're waiting for this next week to go back to work so that way we can actually react to it properly and not just like mull it over in our head all weekend. We're in a continuous flow in the vibration, but something has deeply shifted. And again, the awareness of that shift is something that sets in as we progress through this week. So let's get into the week. Let's get into Monday. For those that are audio only, I will try to be clear on what degrees we are looking at and what signs that we are looking at. But I, as human, and I make mistakes, quoting my best friend on that one for those that know who he is. But here we go. Monday, December 9th, the moon is going to be in Pisces for the first little bit. And the first thing that we're dealing with is exactly that. The moon in Pisces making a conjunction to that newly direct Neptune. Now, over the course of Monday, the moon will actually hit the conjunction to Neptune. Neptune, again, is building its CONTRA-ANTISCIA with the North Node. So we're setting in something that is either unveiling with Neptune, or it is that dust type thing, like what I was saying before. It's the Scarlet Witch effect. I'm going to call it the Scarlet Witch effect. That's the best way I can say it. Of like fueling a passion or a desire. Some of us, whenever we comes to the overnight hours and the moon hitting that conjunction, that's going to be an inspiration for some, a reality check for others. The confirmation, again, of the potential of lies, fraud, deception, or it would be the acceptance of something that we once truly did not believe with the moon's conjunction to Neptune. But I would really, really take into effect that there can be a shift in certain beliefs, whether that is a philosophical beliefs or something that we previously did not accept as a truth. There's a shift in beliefs that will set in this week, especially based off of the transits that are happening on Monday. Okay. The moon's conjunction to Neptune can be felt the most between 1:30 and 3:30 a.m. Central Standard Time. So some of us are going to have a hard time sleeping. Some of us are going to have a whole lot of downloads in the dream energy. Some of us are going to wake up feeling groggy and confused, feeling like we don't have all of our oomph to us. We don't have all the pep in our step because, again, we had that moon-Neptune conjunction overnight. Now, for some people, this will have a human effect and it will play out Sunday evening learning something that we didn't understand before, learning something that is hard to believe, but then also recognizing that that truth is exactly what we need to hear at this time. And for some people, it can speak back to all the events of what just occurred over the last few days. So let's be clear about that. Okay. After the moon's conjunction to Neptune, the moon goes void, which is perfectly fine in the overnight hours. It's not a big deal. The moon is going to go into Aries at 7:38 a.m. Central Standard Time. And once the moon goes into Aries, once the moon is in Mars's sign, this is how I feel like actions and reactions are going to come through. Because when Mars went retrograde, the moon was in Aquarius. The moon was not aspecting Mars. Not anything was really affecting Mars yet. But now we have the moon going through Mars's sign. The action, the reaction to something that is changing, to something that is adapting, to something that is occurring, we will be very much reacting to something, having to take some level of action. Are we all going to do it first thing 9:30 in the morning? No, but the moon will be in Aries for 2.5 days, and we have other transits that are about to happen. So I want to be absolutely clear that while the moon is going through Aries, give me fuel, give me fire, give me that which I desire. I'm not even kidding you. It is there. You will feel the amp. You will feel the frustration. You will feel the determination. Now, I've got this at 9:30 a.m. Central Standard Time. I am just past the first transit. This actually goes the most exact between 7:30 and 8:30 a.m. Central Standard Time, and that is whenever Pluto goes through a sextile with the moon. So they're just at their separation point at the 9:30 mark right here. But whenever Pluto hits that sextile to the moon at that 0-degree mark, that's one little inkling of the push of something that is starting, of something that can be tense because Pluto is involved, something that is triggering because Pluto is involved. But again, it's Pluto full steam ahead. It's the moon full steam ahead. So it's pushing something forward, and it's letting us know that something has changed because Mars, the host, is newly retrograde. Something has changed, something has transformed, and whatever is changing requires actions and reactions. Okay. Pluto will sextile the moon between 7:30 and 9:30 a.m. Central Standard Time, between 11:30 and 1:30. So I'm going to bump the screen for those that are watching the visual to 12:30. Venus will now go through a sextile with the moon. So you can see this here. Venus is 2 degrees, 53 minutes. The moon is 2 degrees, 52 minutes. Like it's there. It's exact. It's fine. It's close. Now, over the weekend, we did have that Venus-Pluto conjunction. And for some people, whatever happens in the Pluto and the Venus part, Venus-Pluto's conjunction happened right around the time that Mars turned retrograde. There wasn't a hosting aspect there, but it's like once something was understood, once something was spoken, and that spoken thing or that thing that we desire to change, it was potentially triggering or traumatizing. It had a bit of fear. Again, it instigated that turn of actions and reactions based off of Mars turning retrograde. Some people are still taking actions and reacting to something based off of whatever occurred over the last week going into this Monday. Venus is sextile to the North Node. Like, we're talking about the appearance of something, how the appearance of something is going to feed into this action, how the desire of something is going to feed into this action, how the taste. Now, in some people, taste can be actual taste of food, but for some people, it's going to be the aesthetic, that level of taste, the design of something is necessary to handle in the action or the reaction. Now, I'm putting that more in like the home building sense, or if we're going to renovate something, we're having to fix a plumbing issue. Venus, Pluto could have actually been a plumbing issue. That's not even a joke. Anytime we have Pluto transits, it's the potential of a plumbing issue. I don't say that enough, but it's true. The action to fix, and this action to fix leads to a shift in transformation that we didn't initially anticipate. Okay. Venus sextile Pluto. Now, right around this 12:30 mark, this is when the North Node and the Moon will start to hit its conjunction. It's closer around 1:30, so I'm going to bump the screen to 1:30. Here's the Moon, 3 degrees, 27 minutes. Here is the North Node, 3 degrees, 31 minutes. You can see that they're very tightly conjunct one another. And it is something, again, over the course of Sunday night going into Monday, that it gives us that, I'm still calling it like the Neptune scarlet witching effect. An inspiration, potentially Neptune turning direct, confirmed inspiration that now fuels our desire. Moon conjunct North Node. Neptune and North Node are going through a CONTRA-ANTISCIA. The Moon is now a part of this CONTRA-ANTISCIA. It's not exact yet. It's something that we'll be feeling all week. But we have this like scarlet witching effect. I'm going to keep calling it that until I come up with something else. It's the scarlet witch effect. With the Moon's conjunction to the North Node, it is confirming a desire. It is confirming what we will have, what we will consume, what we will control, what we will own, what we will accomplish. It will confirm something, deeply confirm something that we are trying to fast track into obtaining over the course of the next few weeks. And I do mean fast track something. We are trying to get something accomplished, and we are confirming elements of what we are going to accomplish for a lot of people. But for other people, if we are having the negative impact right now of the scarlet witching effect, then it's going to be like, it's confirming even more, this is what I desire. And I will have what I desire. And that can be very terrifying if you are dealing with situations like stalkers. Put it in that other perspective. Some people get fueled by negative desires whenever we go through Mars retrogrades. And I want people to be aware of that and be clear of that. Just because somebody new walked into your life or that ex came back around, it's not good for you. Trust me. Okay. The Moon's conjunction to the North Node can be felt the most exact between 12:30 and 2:30 p.m. Central Standard Time, and then a few hours later between 4 and 6 p.m. So I'm going to move the wheel to 4:30. The Moon is going to go through a trine with Mars. You can see that right here. The Moon is a very busy, busy person today. So here's the Moon hitting that trine to Mars. And this is, by the time we get to this part of the day, we have truly confirmed something has turned, that this action will happen, that this action will occur, whether it is through blind faith, whether it's through the scarlet witching effect, whether it is based off of a lie, a fraud, or a deception. We are confirming that an action is being accepted and understood because Mars is retrograde, moving towards the Moon in Mars's sign, towards the Moon in Aries. Confirmation. Whether it's a good confirmation or a negative confirmation pays no matter. Because remember, good old Mercury, the ruler of our logical brain, he's still retrograde. So a lot of us are not thinking clearly. Some of us are. We've got a good handle of this situation. A lot of us are not. Speaking of Mercury, let's keep bumping the wheel. Let's get into the evening time. Between 10:30 p.m. Central Standard Time and 12:30, the Moon is going to go through a trine with Mercury. This is a very interesting part of the energy because all throughout the week, as Mercury is starting to station, it's trying to re-enter a trine with Mars. It's trying to negotiate something with Mars. And there's going to be tactics toward negotiation. For a lot of people, we're going to be trying to troubleshoot some things. Well, if I try this, is this going to work for you? Can we do this? Is this going to work for you? And by the end of the week, a lot of people are going to realize the negotiation will not work. We're not going to see eye to eye. People are going in different directions, but that doesn't mean that we're not going to try. And there's something here that speaks to trying to confirm that we can get something figured out. We can find a middle ground for some people. The Moon is going to go through this trine with Mercury. A lot of people are going to be adamantly against it because these two are going in different directions during this trine. Some people will hear something whenever Mercury goes through the trine with the Moon. And again, this is later in the evening. And it's like, as soon as you hear it, you're like, that's not true. I didn't say that. I didn't want to do that. That's not what I paid. That's not what I purchased. That's not what I did. But Mercury going in that other direction kind of speaks to the idea that something is going differently than what we initially planned. We're not seeing eye to eye. We're going in different directions. And a lot of people are going to understand Moon trine Mars, why their action has turned and why the other side is not being focused on, is not being believed, is not handling something well. And again, this happens real late in the evening, at least for me. So it goes the most exact between 10:30 p.m. on the 9th and 12:30 a.m. on the 10th. So I'm just going to go ahead and bump this to the 10th. So what I, again, describing with that Mercury's trine to Mars, for some people, that can be a part of late Monday. For other people, that's going to be a part of Tuesday, especially if you start to adjust for your personal time zone. So don't be surprised if we either get to late Monday or early Tuesday and we're having a difference of opinions of one person saying, no, it doesn't go that way. Or one person saying, this is the action that I'm taking. And Mercury being in the stance of like, I don't think that's a good idea, but the moon in Mars' sign right now does not care. You might say it's not a good idea, but I'm going to do it anyways. Yeah, that's real. That happens. Okay. Going a little bit deeper now into Tuesday, December 10th, between 9:30 and 11:30 a.m. Central Standard Time. So I'm bumping this into the hours. The moon is going to go through a sextile with Jupiter. So we have the moon 15 degrees, 55 minutes, making a sextile to Jupiter at 15 degrees, 52 minutes of Gemini. This is not a heavy energy. This is kind of a acceptance energy. This is a push type of energy. It's a check-in energy. But for a lot of people, this can also speak back to what did happen over the weekend whenever the sun hit the opposition to Jupiter. Why do I say that? Because as the day continues, the sun and the moon will go through a trine. So there's elements that speaks to like checking back in on the recent. And this kind of speaks into that. Now, with the moon's sextile to Jupiter, there is acceptance. There is something being approved. There is something being pushed forward. There is something that is allowing for additional change towards hope, growth, wellness. There could be certain situations where we're checking in with the doctor, the guru, the teacher, something that we need to understand, but also in regards to something that needs to heal. And that can speak volumes throughout the rest of the day. So let's keep this going. Between 11:44 and 12:07 a.m. Central Standard Time, the sun will go through its exact trine to Chiron. So right now, I still got it at 10:30. I have not moved the screen. The sun is at 19 degrees, 6 minutes. Here's Chiron, 19 degrees, 10 minutes. This energy as a whole will be a big part of the entire day. So for some people, it is understanding the wound. For other people, it is understanding how to fix something. For some people, it is a mix of both, that the only way I can fix something is to completely remove myself from the situation. The only way this can heal is to reopen the wound, spill everything out, because there's too much that has festered below, and now we need to let out the nastiness. I'm going to say it that way, as clean as I can. Now, as the day progresses, I'm going to bump this now until about 3:30 in the afternoon. The moon is going to get involved. Why do I say that? I've got this at 3:30, December 10th. The sun, 19 degrees, 19 minutes, is going to go through a trine with the moon. Right now, the moon is at 18 degrees, 55 minutes. So it's still in that beginning parts. This happens closer to 4 p.m., but you guys know I only bump it by the half hour mark. So I'm not really going to bump it anymore. While the sun is going through the trine with the moon will also go through that conjunction to Chiron. What is it going to take to fix this? Not allowing the same actions to happen. What is it going to take to make something go better? To completely remove certain people from the situation, to no longer have certain people involved. How can I fix the situation? By leaving me alone. Now that sounds harsh, but it's the truth. For some people, the only way to fix certain situations is to be left alone. to not feel pushed into doing things that we don't desire to do anymore. Now, take into the account the rest of the chart whenever we're talking about this transit. Again, Mercury is slowing down to end a retrograde at the end of the week, trying to reconnect a trine with Mars that will not go exact. It will not take. The North Node and Neptune are in this building contra-ANTISCIA all throughout the rest of the week. So we have that, again, that scarlet witching effect of something that is blinding our desire. It is fueling our fire. It's fueling something. We are either being blinded by hope, blinded by the light, blinded by the potential, or blinded by a lie, blinded by a fraud, blinded by a deception. And there are some times that it does not matter how much you speak the truth. If somebody else has already made their decision, that version of the truth that they have accepted will be the wound. And for some people, this wound will not be new because you got to remember, Chiron is retrograde. So this isn't necessarily all new things for a lot of people, but that does not mean that the wound does not hurt. And there is something here that about seeing the wound for what it truly is. And some wounds cannot just be healed through time. And that also speaks in this energy. Okay, moving along. What's interesting to me is after the moon's conjunction to Chiron and the trine with the sun, the moon is void all throughout the rest of the day on Tuesday. The overnight hours of Tuesday going into Wednesday morning, the moon is void. So whatever wound, whatever healing, whatever action, whatever we are working on in this moment, it sets the mood and the vibration for the next few hours, all throughout the rest of the evening, because again, the moon's going to go void. We're going to get into December 11th. The moon is still going to be in Aries. The moon is still void. Nothing is changing it. Nothing is impacting it. So for a lot of people, Tuesday evening going into now Wednesday morning, we are either, again, fueled by a fire, fueled by the action that we're taking. For some people, that action will cause wounds. For other people, it's the only way that we can heal wounds. And it's like it's setting the stage of all of the actions and the reactions as to how things are going to continue. And this week is not done just by the moon in Aries, because it's going to continue. Now, over the overnight hours with the moon going through Aries, it will not leave Aries until 9:55 a.m. Central Standard Time. So I'm bumping this to 10:30 now on December 11th. And the first thing that happens once the moon goes into Taurus is the moon starts a square from Pluto. Here's Pluto, 0 degrees, 29 minutes, 10:30 a.m. I got the moon at 0 degrees, 21 minutes. So we're almost to the exact square right here. This is a push. This is a challenge. This is contention. This is frustration to something that has either been long, deeply seated for some, or it is the push to do something that is going to be a point of long-term contention for others. Because this is a challenge, this is a square, and it ain't the only one. We got a lot of squares and frustration building all throughout the day on the 11th. Now, why am I saying the building aspect? I'm not moving the screen right now. I'm just going to go with the building aspect. All day on the 11th, Venus, right now on the screen, I've got her at 5 degrees, 5 minutes of Aquarius. It's building her opposition to Mars that does not go exact on this day. It doesn't go exact until the 12th. So there's building contention. We're also building towards a full moon that's going to happen on Sunday. So there's building contention. There's building in the energy. There's stubbornness in the energy. And whenever you go into the fixed sign stubborn, that's real. That's super real. So for some people, we will be dealing with stubbornness once the moon goes into Pluto. For other people, it is going to be pushes that have grit and contention. And again, so we still have stubbornness, but it's like, I don't want to do it, but I'm doing it anyways. I don't think this is a good idea, but you're not going to freaking listen to me. You're just going to do whatever you want to do. And again, some of the actions that are about to be recognized, because not everybody is recognizing them quite yet, will get recognized as the week continues. So let's keep going. Between 9:30 and noon is whenever you can feel the square between Pluto and the moon. For some people, that is going to be a trigger. For other people, that is going to be something that is, again, a push towards healing and transformation. How a past trauma, how a past situation, how a past trigger is now setting something else into motion based off of how the transits will continue. So let's keep this going. Throughout the rest of the day, we are building into the square between Venus and the moon. Now, this is going to go the most exact between 6 and 8 p.m. Central Standard Time. So I got this at 7:30. And I got it at 7:30 on purpose. Because right after the moon goes through its exact square with Venus, it will enter its exact square with Mars. So it is planting the seeds to an action, to a reaction, to a facing. It's setting the appointment. It's hearing one side's opinion and letting the other side know the action or the desire. It's putting something into motion. Now, Venus going through the square to the moon. The moon is exalted in Taurus. It's in Venus's sign. Venus is square to the moon. It's not heavy. This is what I desire. This is what I crave. This is what's going to make me happy. This is how I want something to appear. This is how I want something to look. But when the moon hits the square to Mars, it's almost like being the mediator. This is what Venus wants. I'd be willing to settle for that. I'd be willing to talk about that. I'd be willing to look at that. I'd be willing to think about that. And the only reason I'm saying it that way is because, again, Mars is retrograde and it's moving towards that moon. So there's acceptance there. Venus is pushing her will, her desire. This is what I want. Mars, in that retrograde stance, moving towards the moon, can accept, can acknowledge, can confirm whether something can or can't continue, will or won't happen. We are building all day between the opposition of Venus and Mars, but it does not go exact. And for a lot of people, late parts of Wednesday has an outside source that is pushing something into place, into recognition. And that speaks to what we're going to start to deal with once we get into Thursday. So again, wrapping up Wednesday right now, Venus is square to the moon can be felt the most exact between 6 and 8 p.m. The moon square to Mars can be felt the most exact between 7 and 9 p.m. Central Standard Time. So I've got this at 7:30. There's going to be a lot of back and forth, a lot of bouncing around, a lot of negotiations, a lot of putting things into place, a lot of multiple angles and multiple positions and multiple understandings that need to come together, that need to come face to face. Now, we're going to bump this into the 12th. We're going to get into Thursday. And again, when it comes to Thursday, this is whenever we get the exact opposition to Venus and Mars. So I've got this right now, December 12th at 4:30 a.m. Central Standard Time. At 4:30, Mars is at 5 degrees, 58 minutes retrograde in the sign of Leo, opposite Venus at 5 degrees, 57 minutes of Aquarius. It's close enough for government work. We did just have that T-square energy where the moon was squaring Venus and Mars the night before. This was putting a lot of things into connection. And now we have this energy that speaks to a face-to-face right here. Now, some people will quite literally have to face someone head on. And whenever we do that, if we're on the Venusian side of this, we can see the physical, energetic, emotional turns to another person. And it is like cementing in our head that that person is not who we once thought they were. They are not the same. That can be a good thing with the moon being in Taurus right now, but that can be a bad thing. And it can also just cement even further, again, that action of reaction of repellent against that Mars situation. That's going off of the concept of a negative thing. It's not always going to be negative. And again, for a lot of people, Mars can be pivotal right now. And whenever you look at Mars and what has turned and what is transforming, if we're looking at it from Mars's standpoint, we can be seeing something transformed, seeing something going into a new level, seeing that other side of the masculine, because Mars is a masculine energy, seeing the other side of the god of war, seeing the other side of the reaction, seeing what has brought us to a certain point. And for some people, we can feel hope in that change and in that transformation. For some people, Venus Mars is going to be very heavy. It is going to be frustrating. It is going to be tense. And it is leading up to a completion for many people. But for other people, we are seeing the transformation and we're confirming something that we desire. So this is a very interesting interaction. And it really depends on how this is laying out in your chart, what you're dealing with throughout the week, what has led you to this point. And for some people, Venus will be very appreciative of the turn and of the change in the Mars retrograde. For some people, Venus's opposition to Mars will be adamantly against that change in the other person and everything that they have done. By the time we get to the end of the week, there will be separations. This is one major level that can speak to separations. And again, Venus and Mars had a conjunction at the area of the sky in Aquarius where Venus is right now. And it happened back February 22nd. So Venus Pluto that happened earlier this year was February 16th. Venus Mars was February 22nd. Right around this 5, 6, 7 degree mark. Where is Venus hitting the opposition to Mars? The 5, 6 degree mark. We are still in an area of the sky where she has already had interactions with Mars. So for some people, where we were previously trying to come to terms with someone, we might be on the other end of that spectrum now and be like, I will never be on the same page with you ever again. This was never going to work. We are never going to see eye to eye. And you are making damn sure of that. Okay. Oh, the only other transit that's going to be a part of Thursday goes the most exact between 7 and 9 a.m. Central Standard Time. So I'm going to bump this to 8:30. And this is going to be Saturn's sextile to the moon. So we're just past it at 8:30. Saturn is at 13 degrees, 19 minutes of Pisces. The moon is at 13 degrees and 40 minutes of Taurus. This is not a heavy energy, but considering the Venus Mars is still very active, this can have to do with the extra element of the authority figure, of the elder, and their input, the masculine in regards to government and their input, the law aspect of things. If you are one of my people and you're going through legal battles, this is like getting the guidance from the attorney, letting you know that someone else has had a change of opinion. The moon is in Venus' sign. That's why I'm saying it that way. That something is adjusted, that someone else absolutely believes something. Remember the Scarlet Witch effect that's a part of the entire week. Whenever we look at Neptune and the North Node, they're getting closer to their exact contra-ANTISCIA. So that witching effect, I don't mean it in the negative sense. I'm really comparing it to the Scarlet Witch from Age of Ultron, that effect that she had. That witching effect has deeply fueled another person. This is what they're going to do now. This is the turn that we are now in. Well, I thought we were negotiating for something to be different. Well, they're not seeing eye to eye. We're not able to make it all happen. Like we're trying, but they don't want to listen. And I need people to be prepared for very one-sided, lopsided situations where a couple of people are over here, and then this person over here is like, no, you're all against me. That's because you're acting a little crazy. Some people, it's like, you are the lone wolf in the Mars retrograde energy, and it's like everybody's against you because they can't see what you can see. That's a potential. But in other ways, sometimes Mars is a little crazy. Gotta play devil's advocate. Okay. After the Saturn moon sextile, it's not that the moon is void. There's no more exact transits to Thursday. So a lot of Thursday is dealing with the vibration of Venus and Mars opposition. It's rounding out the rest of the Mercury retrograde and what's starting to settle down, like where our mindset is settling. But there's not any other exact transits that speak volumes as to the 12th. So we're going to go ahead and go into the 13th. We're going to go into Friday the 13th. Yes, we get a Friday the 13th in the middle of the holidays. For those that need a little extra spooky to go with your holiday season, there you go. Now, we got something that is going to go exact right after the midnight hour. So I'm going to bump this to 1:30. And we got two things going on right here. Right around 1:45 a.m. Central Standard Time. So I'm just going to round it out to that. Mercury, which you can see right here, 6 degrees, 58 minutes, is going to go through its exact sextile to Venus, 6 degrees, 57 minutes. They are going in opposite directions. Again, there's going to be situations that are occurring where people are going in opposite directions. Their opinions have changed. The plans have changed. But for some people, that's going to be a shock. Why do I say that? The moon hitting this conjunction to Uranus. There's an expect the unexpected, an unexpected change in the vibration, an unexpected opinion change, unexpected information changes. Now, the human effect is, again, this is happening 1:30 a.m. Central Standard Time. For some people, this will be a part of late Thursday evening in the buildup of the energy, not in the exact. For other people, it's going to be a part of Friday. And I got to be honest, there's a lot of lunar transits to Friday. So I would expect a very, very busy Friday for a lot of people. But for some people, this will be a part of late Thursday evening. An unexpected phone call, unexpected communication, unexpected messages, unexpected digital communication. So your DMs, your emails, and stuff like that. About a change of plans, a change of an opinion. For some people, that will work in their favor. If one side has been adamantly against signing some papers, and all of a sudden they change their mind and they sign the papers, then that works in your favor. That's Moon conjunct Uranus. But in other people, we're trying to get things prepared, get things worked out. And whenever the Mercury Venus sextile happens, it's like Venus has one plan, Venus has one idea, and Mercury's like, nah, I don't know if I want to do that yet. I don't know if I can do that yet. I don't know if I feel the same way as you right now. And let's be clear, that's a big possibility. Now, the moon's going to hit the conjunction to Uranus, the most exact between 1 and 3 a.m. Central Standard Time. So it's almost exact around the time that I'm showing you right here at 1:30. Again, this can be for some people something that happens to the late Thursday. For other people, it's going to be a part of Friday. Speaking of which, let's continue deeper into Friday and we get to the next transit that's going to occur between 5:30 and 7:30 a.m. Central Standard Time. And what is that? Neptune is going to go through its exact sextile to the moon. Neptune sextiles are not crazy. They can be confusing. There can be some of us, again, that we're waking up the next morning reading some kind of weird email you got the night before and you haven't had enough coffee yet. And you're just like, what is he saying? What is he ranting about? What are they mad about? What is going on? And with Neptune hitting that sextile to the moon, there's something that is not clear. There is something that is not understood. There is something that, for some people, it's letting us know what somebody else does believe is real or true. It's hearing about the fraud, the lies, the deception. It's hearing about the potential, But again, not immediately knowing how to react to it. We need a few days to wrap our head around some things. And once the moon goes into Gemini, we will be wrapping our head around some things. So let's keep this going. Let's get to the moon being in Gemini. The moon's going to go into Gemini at 11:22 a.m. Central Standard Time. So I got this at 11:30. And as soon as the moon goes into Gemini, it hits a trine from Pluto. Pluto is 0 degrees, 32 minutes of Aquarius. Here's the moon, 0 degrees, 5 minutes. Obviously, it's nowhere near exact. It's going to go exact closer to that 12:30 range. But you can see it right here going through that trine. And once the moon goes into Gemini, the moon is going to be very busy. So again, Friday for a lot of people can be very busy. It's like ping, 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 ping. I got to go here, 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 here. I got to file this, 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 this. I got to sign this, 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 this. I got to launch this, 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 this. I got to post this, this, this. Some of us, it's going to be a mix. I got to sign this, launch this, go here, go there, jump over here. And we're going to be doing ding, 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 ding. Pinball machine effect Friday. For a lot of people, you're just going to be bouncing around, talking to everyone, communicating everything, planning multitudes of things, jumping around, jumping through hoops. And for some people, you're going to feel really empowered to do this. For other people, you're going to be so angry that you're almost triggered to do this. Now, once the moon goes into Gemini, I want to bring up one other thing that's going on. It's not exact. It's never going to go exact just because of the way the transits are going. But Mercury is now at 6 degrees. Overnight, going into the 13th, Mercury got to the 6 degree mark. And it again is trying to reach a trine with Mars. It is trying to communicate something. Many of us are going to find ourselves trying to communicate something, trying to launch something, trying to make something happen that is potentially going to be derailed. It is potentially not going to happen. It's potentially not going to launch because these two never reconnect in their trine. And I need people to be aware of that. If you are trying to get through someone's skull, you're trying to make somebody understand something, and it's like you keep hitting every voicemail, you're never connecting with that person, do not be surprised. Do not be surprised. There's a reason for that. And more than likely, whatever blinding energy, again, of either North Node Neptune mixed with Mars now being retrograde, that scarlet witching effect, some people will be very, very blinded by what they believe is the truth. Okay. With Pluto going through the trine with the moon, though, that again is going to go the most exact between 11 a.m. and 1 p.m. Central Standard Time. So you can see that right here. After the trine between Pluto and the moon is going to continue all throughout the rest of the day. So we get very triggered by something to transform it. We are very intent on a challenge to make something happen, to overcome something. And again, we've got a pinball effect all throughout the day. And I feel like people are going to be both mentally and physically very, very busy. So we're going to keep the day going. We're going to get into the evening time. Between 8 and 10 p.m. Central Standard Time, I've got this at 9:30 and I've got it at 9:30 for a reason. The moon is going to go through a sextile with Mars. So the moon is able to make a connection to Mars. The moon is in Mercury sign. And this almost feels like having a third person try to get a hold of your ex. Hear me out. This is what it feels like. The moon will go through a sextile to Mars, and then between 9:30 and 11:30 p.m., that's why I've got this at 9:30, by the way, it goes through its exact opposition to Mercury. So it's almost like somebody's been chasing another person all week. Like, hey, can we get this meeting? Hey, can we talk? Hey, can we do this thing? Hey, are you hearing me? Hey, can we? Will we? Blah, 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 blah. And every time it's like read receipt, but no response. You know they're seeing it. You know they're there, but they're not taking it in. So you ask your buddy, you call their brother, their sister, you get a third party involved going, can you talk to Mars for me? Because I've been trying to get to Mars to sit down all week, and they're blowing me off. And it's like that third party, the moon, in this case, it's the moon, hitting the sextile to Mars going, are you going to talk to Mercury? No. Why? I'm mad. I don't believe him. I'm not doing this anymore. This isn't going to work. I can already tell it's not going to work. Nothing they're going to say is going to change my mind. It's not going to change my opinion. I'm mad. Oh, and it's like the third party connecting the dot that something is not going to give. Something is not going to change. Something has crossed a point of no return. When the moon hits the sextile to Mars, these two are understanding of each other. They are receptive of each other. For some people, will be like, what's going on with you? I'm leaving him. I'm not going to talk to him anymore. I'm going in this other direction. I'm just going to start my own company. I'm quitting, whatever it is. This turn in the action and the reaction with Mars. And it's like, oh, cool. So are you ever going to, like, are you just going to ghost them? Sure. I don't see the point in talking about it anymore. They don't want to listen anyways. So I'm going to go in my own direction. And the moon feels like the third party afterwards, again, between 9:30 and 11:30 p.m. And I've still got this at 9:30. I'm not moving the screen any. The moon starts its opposition to Mercury going, yeah, he's moving out. She's moving out. She's going in this other direction. I don't know what you were thinking. I don't know what y'all are fighting about. I don't get the situation, but I'm letting you know right now, whatever you're trying to fix, overcome, yada, 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 it ain't going in that route. They're not going to listen to you. They don't believe you. They don't trust you. They don't want to do it. And in that vibration, it's like confirming these two are not going to see eye to eye, that these two are not going to reconnect on something, that these two are going to split. For some people, the moon is going to be the third party confirming a split. Yeah, I'm going to come pick up their stuff for them, or we're going to come pick up their stuff together. Like there's some element of this going, yeah, the stuff's on the front porch. No, thank you. Now, are we all dealing with relationship stuff right here? No. Some of us are dealing with this in the business sense. Some of this are, we're dealing with this in, our family dynamics. Some of us, we're dealing with this in a financial dynamic. Like there's going to be something that we're trying to get going all week, but then there's this other side going, no, not going to happen quite yet. Not in the mood. Not going to do this. My direction has changed. My path has changed. My opinion has changed. Okay. The moon sextile to Mars is felt the most exact between 8 and 10 p.m. Moon's opposition to Mercury will be felt the most exact between 9:30 and 11:30 p.m. And I do feel like also with the moon's opposition to Mars, the moon, I'm sorry, not the Mars, with the moon's opposition to Mercury, the moon is in Mercury's sign. And all throughout the rest of the weekend, we're building up to a full moon in Mercury's sign as Mercury is stationing direct. Some people are going to have to talk some things out throughout the entire weekend. Some people are going to have to logically replan and rethink some things throughout the entire weekend. Some of them are making communicative, written changes that will be announced and pronounced afterwards. Taking the Mars element out of it and just going off of Moon and Mercury. For some people, we're not doing the back and forth thing. We're hearing of one disruption when the moon hits the sextile to Mars. But then with the moon hitting that opposition to Mercury, it's like, okay, I'm going to start changing this up. I'm going to start looking for a new house. I'm going to start looking for my new address. I'm going to start changing something that has a written element to it, has a communicative element to it for a lot of people. Okay. Now, the next thing that's going to happen is something that carries us into the 14th. So it's a part of the end of Friday and the beginning of Saturday. So for me, this is the most exact between 11:30 p.m. and 1:30 a.m. Central Standard Time. And that is the moon is going to go through a trine with Venus. So again, I'm going to go ahead and bump this into the 14th. But for people, whatever I just start to describe next, for some people will still be a part of Friday. For other people, it's all going to be a part of Saturday. And that's Venus is trine to the moon. This is hopeful. This is logical. This is an understanding. This is voicing again about the appearance, about the taste, about the aesthetic of how something is changing, how something is molding, how something is transforming, how something can go from here. This feels really positive. Yes, we have the weight and everything else of, and I say weight is in the heaviness of what has gone on all throughout the week. But I don't feel like everything is going to be negative. I feel like some people are going to have things that they're going to be really excited about, really proud of. In a lot of ways, we can be, again, talking about the aesthetic of something or giving the ideas of like, well, if you can't make that work, if you can't go that direction, maybe we can go this direction. Maybe we can try this. Maybe we can spruce this up a little bit. Maybe we can change this design. Maybe we can change up this recipe a little bit. Maybe we can do this other thing to make it worthwhile, to make it better. And there's logic in this desire, in this planning, in this hopefulness with Venus's trine to the moon. And again, for some people, that is going to still be a part of Friday evening. For other people, it is going to be a part of Saturday. As we continue into the actual daytime hours, not just the overnight stuff, between 8:30 and 10:30 a.m. Central Standard Time, Saturn, 13 degrees, 25 minutes of Pisces, is going to go through a square with the moon, 13 degrees, 23 minutes. Now, the moon is doing two things right here. It's going through its exact square with Saturn, but it's also building towards its conjunction with the moon. And I want people to put a little note in whatever starts to unfold over the weekend, especially on Saturday. All weekend is the full moon in Gemini. We know that. But there is something here that speaks to an unfolding of things that are going to happen right around Christmas, which is only 10 days away. On December 24th, that's the 10-day mark, by the way, we're going to have our exact square between Saturn and Jupiter. And there can be something when the moon hits this square from Saturn and starts to go into the conjunction of Jupiter that allows for, and again, a change of opinion, a change in the communication, a change of plans that will also take a few weeks to unfold, because it's more likely to unfold right around that Christmas time whenever we get the exact square between Saturn and Jupiter. So take note of what's going on around here on the 14th, because it's probably going to be, again, something that we're dealing with come the 24th, 25th, 26th, and 27th. Those are the exact based off of the transits. But that week of Christmas, I'm not meaning that in the holiday sense. For some people, it will. You're going to go do all of your holiday shopping next weekend during the full moon in Gemini. And whenever you come home, you're like, okay, and this is for Johnny, and this is for Susie, and this is for Billy, and this is for Bobby, and this is for you, and this is for me, and this is for the dog, and this is for grandma and Pip Pop, and blah, 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 blah. There'll be a lot of that too. That's just a mundane way of how a big situation, I say big situation, a lot of busyness in the situations can result in something super mundane. Okay. But as a whole, Saturn square to the moon is the most exact between 8:30 and 10:30 a.m. Central Standard Time. This is communication from the elder. This is a decision from the authority figure or the elder. There is something about the responsibility being delegated whenever the Saturn moon square goes the most exact. There is a direction given from Saturn about who's going to be in charge of what. So again, we're getting close to the holidays. For a lot of people, this can be holiday related of, I've already taken care of this. I need you to still go do this, this, and this. I need you to go shop for this. I need you to go execute this. I need you to do something. And it does not have to be heavy per se, but it is Saturn, and some people can take Saturn energy the wrong way. Let's be clear about that. Okay. Now, the moon's conjunction to Jupiter goes the most exact between 11:30 a.m. and 1:30 p.m. Central Standard Time. So I'm moving the screen to 12:30. Here's the moon, 15 degrees, 11 minutes. Here's Jupiter, 15 degrees, 19 minutes. We're like right around 10 minutes away from this going exact. You can see it's close enough right here. This is hopeful. This is lucky. This is confirming something. There's confirmation in the air, confirmation in the energy. Meeting somebody that can be the doctor, the guru, the teacher, asking for their opinion, asking for their insight, getting some type of lesson, but also getting something that installs levels of hope with the Moon Jupiter conjunction. And given all the rest of the volatility that we had getting into the weekend, we can use something that feels hopeful and nice. I actually like Saturday a whole lot. Now, after the Moon's conjunction to Jupiter, there are no more exact transits to the day on Saturday, except for the fact that we're building up all day to the full moon, which will not go exact until the overnight hours, and to Mercury turning direct from its retrograde. And that, again, is not happening until the 15th. So let's get into the 15th. Okay. So I'm going to bump this to right here in this 2:30 aspect. The exact time of the full moon in Gemini is at 3:01 a.m. Central Standard Time. 2:30, it's close enough. Here's the moon, 23 degrees, 33 minutes. Here's the sun, 23 degrees, 51 minutes. This full moon is very loosely squaring Neptune. And Neptune and the North Node are almost exact in their contra-ANTISCIA when we go through the full moon. So there can be a change of mindset, a change of information, a change in the communication that is setting something in motion all throughout the week that starts to set in over the course of the weekend. More exact on Sunday, but we will be in full moon vibration as soon as the moon goes into Gemini. And that's actually on Friday. So please understand the entire weekend has a full moon vibration. For some people, the change of opinion, we can immediately feel confused as to what to do next. We can immediately feel amazed at what's going to happen next. There's a bit of a cloudiness with that full moon squaring Neptune, and knowing that as we go into next week, we will actually build to the full exact square between the sun and Neptune. There can be something that instigates in the full moon that takes a few days to fully understand. And I'm saying a few days loosely. For some people, it's going to take a few weeks. Just to be clear. Okay. Now, the full moon, again, is exact at 3:01 a.m. Central Standard Time. I will do a podcast episode specifically on this full moon, as I always do. So don't be worried about that. I'm not going to get too heavy on it in this episode. I had enough stuff to be heavy about anyways. As the day progresses, the moon will go through its exact square to Neptune between 7:30 and 9:30 a.m. Central Standard Time. So I've got this at 8:30 on December 15th. Here's Neptune, 27 degrees, 8 minutes. Here's the moon, 27 degrees, 7 minutes. It's fine. You can see it. Oh, Neptune is in its exact contra-ANTISCIA to the North Node by the time we get to this point. A dream is encompassing our mind. A fuel to the fire, blinded by light, like I said before, and reaching a peak in that situation based off of the full moon's vibration. For other people, blinded by a lie, blinded by fraud, blinded by the deception, because again, Neptune's kind of a dick. Let's be clear about that. Sometimes Neptune can be very spiritual and woo-woo and give us enlightenment and show us so much inspiration and help our dreams. But other times Neptune's like, and I don't want you to see anything clearly, so let's just mess with everything that you're doing. Some people will be fueled by a desire that they are not seeing clearly. And that can really take shape over the course of next weekend. Shifting something in our mental state, shifting something in our mind, shifting something in our logic. This can be both positive and negative. Positive or negative. Just so we're all on the same page. The moon square to Neptune goes the most exact between 7:30 and 9:30 a.m. Central Standard Time. I'm going to bump this just a couple more hours to show you two more things at 1:22 p.m. Central Standard Time. So I'm bumping this to 1:30. The moon is going to go into Cancer. There's going to be something that we need to nurture based off of the change in our opinion. There is something that we need to emotionally accept and go through once the moon goes into Cancer. There's a certain amount of care and consideration that must be taken. There is internal accountability that will come through as much as external appreciation based off of what has turned in the atmosphere at 2:57 p.m. Central Standard Time. So right now I got this at 1:30. Those that are watching the screen. Right now we got Mercury at 6 degrees, 23 minutes retrograde. I'm going to bump it 2 hours. Mercury is 6 degrees, 23 minutes direct. He goes direct at 2:57 p.m. Central Standard Time. Whatever is culminating up until the edge of that full moon is also the turn in our mental opinion. It is the turn in our plans. It is the turn in our hopes. It is the turn in a multitude of ways. And all during this time, Neptune and that CONTRA-ANTISCIA to the North Node goes exact. Our opinion of something is changing. Our idea of something is changing. There is a full mental shift. And again, Mercury was trying to reinstigate a trine with Mars. You can see that here. Mercury, 6 degrees, 23 minutes. Mars is 5 degrees, 37 minutes. They never re-enter their trine. They never come back to this, to a point of connection. So something that we were previously trying to understand, we are most likely not going to get a connection reached. We are not going to get everybody on the same page. We're going to try. There are attempts, but that does not mean everything is necessarily successful. There will be different separations that are a part of the energy. Two different paths, two different directions. We have one idea, they have theirs. Because we have this idea, they are reacting negatively, Mars being retrograde. Because this is the way that we've decided to go, they are going to follow their own desire. Mars going retrograde. And there are splits in the path. I said this to last week. I'm saying it again to this week. Splits in the path, different directions. There are going to be separations in a multitude of ways. Some of them are going to be by choice. We should not be business partners anymore. We should not be in a relationship anymore. We should not be married anymore. We should not be sharing space anymore. We should not be roommates, whatever it is. Shifts in the path. Some people are going to go one direction. Other people are going to go another direction. Some people will not do well with the idea that they are being isolated. If you've ever gone through a bad breakup or a divorce, I've been divorced before. The separations are in ways that you don't always necessarily take into consideration. My best friend likes to joke around like I got custody of him in my divorce. Whatever. We didn't force our people to choose. People made choices. They made a selection. They block, they unfriend, they stop returning the phone calls of, they stop meeting, they stop doing certain things. People make a choice to take sides, even if you don't ask them to. And the more and more you see the unfolding of people going in different directions and feeling like other people are taking sides, there will be attempts to pull them in. Do you know what he did to me? Do you know what they were saying about me? Do you know what she was doing? Do you know that she was cheating? Do you know? And it won't matter how much they show their ass and say whatever they're going to say. That other person has made a decision. That's the direction that they're going. And you will see the waves that will follow separations. But we are in a splitting in the energy. I said it last week. I'm saying it again this week. And by the end of the week, a lot of people will be making a true decision of a split of a turn, of a change in opinion. I thought one way about you. I don't think this way anymore. I'm going to go in this other direction. And for some of you, if you're having splits in your friend groups or if you're having splits in your company, you're going to be questioning, like, what do I do? Who do I believe? And I would say, don't make a choice. Don't make a decision. Let things unfold naturally. You want to talk to somebody, talk to them. If all they want to do is vent, let them vent a little bit. Be like, all right, you have spoke about this for 15 minutes straight. It is time to change the subject for a little bit. You need other things in your life. Now, they might not like how you said that. May not like you saying it at all, but it's the truth. You let somebody just go and go and go. You have to, like, sometimes just break it up going, hey, okay, we need to talk about something else. You've literally gone on about this for a day and a half. Let's go do something else. Let's shift your focus a little bit. You're letting this drain you too much. You're letting this encompass you too much. You're letting this blind you. Because again, blinding of desires. Blinded by light, blinded by certain pieces of information, blinded by lies, blinded by the truth. Based off of certain parts of the belief system, there will be adjustments in our opinion as this week continues, as we get closer to the full moon. And again, we speak volumes to completions, changes of the program, changes in the information, going in different directions. By the time we get to the end of this week and throughout the rest of the month. For some people, it's going to make a lot of sense. Everything is going to be very, very mundane. You once were doing business one way, you are now going in a different direction. This different direction requires additional layers and additional levels of protection. And by the time we get to the end of the Mercury retrograde, you're going to be at that different level of protection. There's a reshaping, there's a rebranding, there's a remarketing, super mundane. And I got a lot of people doing business stuff in this energy. Let's be clear about that. But then I also have people that are like, my stalker is back. And they saw me out with my new boyfriend, my new girlfriend. I finally told my husband I want a divorce. I finally told my wife I'm going in another direction. I'm ready to separate my business from this other person. And there are splits in the energy, fast tracking of splits. Because again, some of the people that we started to do things with back at the beginning of the year, or even further back, at the beginning of last year, some of the things that we were doing with certain people, they were not meant to stick. So we have, again, splits in the vibration. The splits don't have to mean heartbreak for everybody. For some people, again, is going to be elements of how people take back their personal power. And so much of the shakeup and the breakup of the monotony is, again, a part of the energy and a part of the vibration to shift us into the elements of what will be our new cycle going into 2025 and 2026. So if you're going through heartache, if you're going through frustration, if you're going through the difficulties, this is a temporary vibration. And anything that you're leaving behind, it is because it is no longer meant for you. And there is the potential of something so much better on the horizon. As a collective, as a whole, we are fast track shifting course correction, obstacle course vibration into a new timeline. But that new timeline is not going to fully take shape until we get into parts of 2025 and 2026. We have to go through waves of disruption, dismantling, restructuring, reorganize to put something into motion, to put things into place. Anything that is separating right now is meant to separate. It is allowing for both to go into directions that are better meant for them in the long run. So don't look at the idea of a breakup in a negative right now. It can hurt. And I'm not dismissing your pain. Mourn the loss. Accept that we've had to do these levels of separation. But use that Neptune North Node CONTRA-ANTISCIA to your advantage. Take these actions of blind faith. Believe in the potential, even if you cannot see the potential. Lean into your intuition. Lean into your judgment. Lean into what your gut is telling you. Lean into what feels right and what feels whole for you as an individual. Don't stay stuck in the pattern that you're never going to be happy, you're never going to have something ever again, just because there's a separation, because that's not true. Let the separations happen. Let the splintering situation, the splintering of paths occur, because that's where we're at right now. Two of Wands, forks in the roads, because your path will bleed into someone else's just as much as their path will also bleed into someone else's. Course correction vibration. You will get hit by some paintballs on this part of the obstacle course. But by the time we get to January, our focus will be very different. And how you choose to react is huge in this vibration. Now, whenever it comes to that CONTRA-ANTISCIA between Neptune and the North Node, we have to have faith. We have to allow for certain things to just happen naturally. We have to watch our manifestations take their shape. We have to trust that the synchronicities and our messages from the universe and the things that have been coming through in our meditation, we have to trust blindly. But that is not a bad thing. I don't feel like it is. I would tell you, you know me, I'm a quick one to pump the brakes going, hey, but I'm also being very realistic that we're going into situations that we're not seeing things clearly. But again, I don't think that we're meant to. We have to go through this reset, this course correction, so we can start the new thing in the springtime. Okay. I love and appreciate every single one of you. Thank you for all of the support. Thank you for the shares. Thank you for the new people that are starting to tune in. I really appreciate it. If you want to book a session with me, again, my contact information is listed in the description of every single episode. You can email me. You can message me through social media. You can try smoke signals, but I'm not always outside. But all right. I love and appreciate every single one of you. I will talk to everybody very, very soon. Subscribe.